Welcome back, His Crew family. I hope you are ready for another fun episode we have today. I've got my friend Jay here with me. How you doing, Jay?
Great. Good to be here.
Jay is going to talk about a ministry that's kind of dear to his heart, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do, because it's a little different ministry, and I want to make sure that comes across in our conversation today.
For sure.
But so before we name the ministry, I want to know what got you interested in this ministry. That's really the one of the questions I got for you.
So, just part of my story and testimony, I've always been kind of drawn to, I would say, the other side of the tracks a little bit. I always, if you told me this hot stove was going to burn me, I had to go touch it just to find out for myself. But as many know, it does burn, it does hurt. As I kind of grew in my faith and realizing what I was actually searching for was Christ, I felt like there was a lot of people that I left on those other side of the tracks that were searching for the same thing I was. And at some point, you truly love people, you have to go and tell them what you've learned and bring them up to speed, per se. Um, as I was kind of growing and being around a lot of different groups, the one thing I was always drawn to was motorcycle groups, because what I noticed in just being real, just being real.
That's what we're here for.
Uh, I received sometimes more love, uh, more respect, and more acceptance from some of them guys that some would call undesirable. Uh, Sometimes even more so than I felt at church. Um, these were the guys that most people didn't want to talk to because they were scary, big and tatted up and a little rough around the edges. But those were also the guys that would give the shirts off their backs to help one another, to go out and have benefit rides to try to raise money to help somebody in need. And that's what I was drawn to, was the fact of seeing these people that most churches wouldn't go talk to. Um, but they were the ones that were actually getting in, like doing life with one another, and getting in and actually helping one another. And they were actually acting more Christian than some of the Christians I knew.
Yeah.
They weren't taking that title. They didn't know what they were doing, but they were actually showing more love. So it always kind of drew me to that. So with this ministry, that's basically what we do, is we take the gospel to those men, and then we try to. Our whole mission statement is to disciple men to have a daily word and prayer time, and to support the 1% world in prayer. So how we do that is doing life with one another. We're very selective on who we allow to kind of come into our group, because we like to protect what we have. But we do life with one another. We encourage each other to be in the Word daily. Everything revolves around being in your Word. So I can't go out and give to others or have those words to share if I'm not in it. So we spend a lot of time in our Word and being accountable to one another. And then to support the 1% world in prayer, that's those undesirables. And we pray for them. We build relationships with them. We let them know that, hey, we're not going in Bible thumping. It's a slow approach. We just build relationships and letting them know that we're here. We have something to offer that's a piece that you may not understand, but they know there's something different about us, but we step into their world the same way that they did. So it's all about respect. It's nothing quick. it's a very slow game approach, but um, when you reach those men and you see the pain that gets lifted sometimes, and the fact that there are people of the world that care for them, it blows their mind, really.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start to get the phone calls of, life happens.
Mm-hmm.
When you start to get the phone calls that stuff's happening and going on, and they just need somebody to talk to, that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
When you start getting phone calls asking um, for to be baptized,
Mm-hmm.
like we've had those calls before, that's a huge, huge deal. And that's something that, if you didn't take that slow approach and actually try to get to know these people at their core and give it lots of time, you wouldn't get those conversations.
So let's help the listeners understand. We'll mention the ministry here in a little bit. I kind of want to
Yeah.
hold off a little bit because I want to do a shameless plug for you, right?
Right.
But when somebody hears one percenter, I don't think everybody understands that. I think we need to. And there's another thing too. When you're talking about motorcycle, this isn't. It's a motorcycle club, but let's be honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of these are motorcycle gang members, right?
Yep.
In some instances, and when you talk about a one percenter, what does that really mean in that environment, right? For them, so that we can relate that for our listeners.
Yeah. So a lot of times the worldly perception is that MCs are gangs or street gangs, and realistically, it's just a group of men that want to have their own rules, to kind of do their own thing. They don't want to be told what they have to do and not do by society, by a lot of different things. So they're not really gangs.
Mm-hmm.
They're just clubs that have like-minded people that believe in the same thing. Um, but that's it. The one percenter thing came from, as clubs were starting, back in the early 30s and 40s, and it was a lot of men coming home from war, a lot of soldiers, and when they were overseas, when they were in the service, a lot of them worked on motorcycles. The military used a lot of motorcycles as transportation in those days. So when they came home, they no longer had that brotherhood that they had when they were serving together. Um, they all had learned to work on bikes. They loved riding bikes. They were enthusiasts on riding Harleys and different bikes. So naturally, they continued that here stateside, and that kind of morphed into clubs. Um, and like people do, um, you have division, or one person thinks one or another, and then all of a sudden you start to get different groups and different groups. At one point, there was um, a journalist that had written a story about bikers being these um, drunks, and basically painting them as these evil people. And there was a gentleman that was a part of uh, an association that said, "Hey, 99% of us are just law-abiding citizens that like to ride motorcycles," and basically painting those drunks and
Mm-hmm.
hellraisers as these evil people. Well, they kind of took offense to that, and they said, "Okay, well, if you're the 99, we're the 1%,
There
because
you
we
go.
follow our own stuff."
So good history lesson there.
Correct. Yeah. So ever since then, that there's certain groups that have very proudly claimed that 1% title, and that's kind of their own thing. They follow their own rules, and but I'll tell you, as getting to know some of these men, some of them may be kind of scary, but for the most part, man, they're just like you and I.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Without a doubt, they're deserving of Christ's love just as much as you and I.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of the reason why we go to them.
Mm-hmm. So when you talked about bike runs and rallies and different other events, what are some other ways that your group is getting out and reaching?
So, excellent question. And one of the main things that we do, it isn't just the outreach part of it. That's a huge part of it, but it's also the inreach. As men come to us, they see us on social media. They see us out and about as they come to get to know us, and they want to start pursuing membership with us. That's the part of the discipling part. Um, we are called to make disciples of all nations, but as guys come to us, we have tools. Because I talked about we try to hold each other accountable to read the word. Well, we have tools that we teach, and questions that we ask ourselves daily and ask each other, to try to help that growth. And so it's just as much as the in reach as it is the outreach. But you have guys that are seeking something. They want acceptance. They want to grow in their knowledge of the word. They want to grow just in brotherhood. I think as men, we are wired to want that brotherhood. We're warriors. God made us, wired us to be warriors and to serve together and to do battle together. As us that have been on our spiritual walks longer, understand that battle typically is more spiritual than anything. But you got to have the tools to go into that battle. So we teach different things from the questions is what is the voice of God telling you to be obedient about? Why is He telling you that? What does the Bible say about it? What are you going to do about it? So we ask ourselves that daily. Like, are you hearing from the Lord? What is He saying to you? Why is He saying that? And then we're going to go take it to the Word to figure out, because everything should come from the Word. So we go to the Word and figure out why is the Bible saying about that? And then lastly, the most importantly, what are you going to do about it? Now that you've got that knowledge, what are you going to do about it? One of my favorite things, tool-wise, that we learn is we call it waters. The Word abides in our thoughts of encouragement, readiness, and submission. Because if you get into spiritual battles, more than likely, it's all in your thought life. So controlling our thought patterns is huge, and then teaching men that are, because I don't know how long a man's going to be with us. They come for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. You never know. So with what precious moments that we get with them, we want to teach these tools to them. And that's discipling.
So let's go back. I want to make sure the listeners hear this. You said waters. W is?
The Word.
All right, go ahead. Next.
Abides.
Okay.
In our thoughts.
Yep.
Of encouragement, readiness, and submission.
And submission is to?
So submitting ourselves to one another, but under Christ.
Right. And that I wanted to make sure people understood that, because on this channel, we've had several different people come in. We talk about submission. We talk about submitting. We talk about humbling ourselves, right? But when you're in this environment that you're talking about, like you said, the undesirables of society, right? The people that people look down on sometimes. It's the same people that we also probably see in the jails and prisons that we go and visit, right?
Yeah.
But when we get to the part of submission, I think to me, the submission part is, I guess, kind of maybe threefold. I have to submit myself in order to talk to you about submitting yourself. And once we're in unison, then we have to learn how to submit ourselves to God together.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the?
Yes.
And I think I don't want people to miss that, because it just doesn't. It's just not me telling you to submit. I have to be willing to do it too.
Yes.
And that's, I think, is a lot of what people miss in discipleship.
For sure. As men, uh, sometimes we can be a little prideful.
Just a little.
Yeah, and it's so hard for us to submit,
Mm-hmm.
and really that's one of the most important things that we have to get down. Um, we are all on a mission for Christ. He has given us gifts and abilities to do certain missions for His glory, not for ours, for His glory. But if you are on mission, you have to be under something. So submission is you're on the mission, but you are under somebody's authority that is under Christ's authority. It's okay for me to be under your authority because I know you follow Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I don't know.
But that's a hard lesson for people to learn. It's also hard to get that across to people
Yes.
that, like you said in the beginning, they don't want to submit to anybody.
Yeah.
Right? They got into this lifestyle, this club, in order for them to have the freedom to pick and choose and live the life the way they want to.
Yep.
And I think that as disciples of Christ, as we disciple, as we mentor, as we disciple other people, we got to make sure that it starts with the number one thing. It starts with a relationship.
Yes. Everything revolves around your relationship with Christ, and even the waters and all the other tools that we teach in the club is all about strengthening that relationship, and to just go deeper and deeper and deeper, because that's daily what you should be seeking is a deeper relationship.
But it's not just a relationship with God, right? I mean, we have to have that in order for us to go witness to other people. But we have to develop that relationship with them, right? Before we can really connect to them in order to lead them. You know, when I look at the His crew, Christians ready, equipped, and willing to share the gospel.
Yeah.
When I look at that, it's to me, it's all about relationship. Like you said, my relationship with God, and then my relationship with the people I'm trying to witness to.
Yes. Yeah. Typically, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but typically you're not going to really reach somebody just walking up and boom, here it is.
In your face, evangelism.
Right. And that's what I've learned in this ministry is the slow approach of building the trust, and working on that relationship. But if you really flip that, I need to be seeking my relationship with Christ and the Holy Spirit, right? In that same way. And the closer I get this way, the better I can serve this way. But it's all about building trust and being respectful, and understand that not everybody might not think exactly like I do, and that's okay. I'll love you through it. And sometimes I've learned I might be wrong about things. That's part of my growth too. But as I'm constantly checking things this way, and trying to help and reach this way, the farther we go, the closer. It's like the triangle for marriage talks.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that myself.
Yeah,
and that's any relationship. You know, it doesn't have to be a marriage triangle, right?
Right.
It can be friend and friend, or believer, non-believer.
Yep.
Right. As we grow closer to God, we're going to go closer to each other, and that's where I think the real discipleship happens.
Yeah.
You know, I think when you talk about going on a bike rally and you're sharing these things with the one percenters, and they are, some are resistant, some are respectful, but they're kind of like this, right? And the slow approach is, I love you, Christ loves you, but you got to make that decision.
Yeah. There's so many things where the human side of us will mess things up, or see something good and, well, hey, I need to be a part of that. I could probably do that a little bit better than that guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the human side, right? So many different. I mean, you look at how many different churches get started because of that thought
Mm-hmm.
process. Well, we're dealing with a group of individuals that are very protective of what they have, and because they're trying to keep that kind of stuff
Well,
out.
that's where that trust comes in, right?
Yep,
I mean,
that's exactly it.
and the reason that it's hard to gain their trust is because they have a set certain values, morals, and ways of living
Yep.
that they want to protect, right?
Yep.
And it's hard to break that fabric.
Yeah.
But I think um, in any discipleship relationship, sometimes you don't have to use words to reach people, and that to me is probably the most easy way for me to break the barriers of that trust.
Yeah.
Is for just me to live my life and let them see
Yeah.
that my life matches the words that are coming out of my mouth.
Yeah. So we had a member that has passed away. He's in our Gone but Not Forgotten charter. That he was known for saying that you should always be telling somebody about Jesus, and if you have to, use your words.
Absolutely.
So it's our actions that speak way louder.
Right.
Yeah. And that's as we're going to ministering, just like when we've done jail ministry, you're being judged from the moment you sit down. They're sizing you up, and it's your actions that they're watching. Are you doing what you're telling me? Are you living a life like you're trying to tell me I should be doing? So if you're saying one thing and acting another, they're not going to trust you and don't want what you're offering.
Well, we talked about that in our Bible study. You're a hypocrite.
Yeah. Right.
And that'll turn most people off faster than anything, right? It's
sure.
Being a hypocrite through that. So the name of your organization that you're a part of is
Disciple Christian Motorcycle Club.
And is that a local club or is that
so
regional? How big is it?
So we don't actually talk numbers, but
I'm talking about reach, not numbers as much.
We are international. So we are on pretty much. We're not on Antarctica. I'll tell you, we have.
It's hard to ride a motorcycle in Antarctica.
Yeah, but pretty much everywhere else we have groups set up, and it's just a wonderful thing. We're reaching the lost all over. So.
So you're an international organization. You got a local chapter here where we live. Let's talk to the 1%ers that might be listening, or to the family members of the 1%ers that might be listening, because I think that's just as important, right? Yeah. Because you, as men, we're supposed to be spiritual leaders of the household. Most 1%ers probably are not the spiritual leaders of the household. And if we're going to get them to become that, then the family's got to be on board with the process as well.
Yeah. So that's a huge deal. Because I know in our club, it's our order of things is God, family, work, club. That's not always the way that it goes in other organizations. So the families is hugely important, but everybody, I don't care what organization, if you're in a club or not in a club, we all need Christ. We need the gift that he offers, through his sacrifice for us. But a lot of these families in that lifestyle, they see their man searching and seeking something, that brotherhood, and you don't always have to get it at that certain spot, right? You can, me and you can have brotherhood, but it's about the doing the life together, but then not leaving your family behind. Your family is your number one ministry. That's who God has put you in charge of. Whether you want to be the spiritual leader or not, you are.
Mm-hmm.
God designed us men to be the leaders, and of your household is you're in charge of that. So we're talking about our actions. What are you showing your wife? What are you showing your kids? If your actions are saying that I'm searching or I'm walking this path of righteousness, then that's what they will see and follow. But if you're leaving them behind to go do stuff that you can't necessarily talk about, or because it's club business or whatever, they're seeing that too.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're seeing that there's something more important than them, and that's the last thing that we want to do. And that's why we do God Family Work Club, because God should always come first. Everything I do should be glorifying to God first, and then my family. They need their own identity, so my club does not come before them, because although my club is extremely important to me, just like my church, right? My family is still more important, under God. Um, and then I have to have a 9 to 5. I have to pay my bills, so I got to make sure that I'm respectful to my bosses and stuff too. So I hope that makes sense.
No, that does. And so, does your organization minister to the families, to the women and the families?
So we are a traditional motorcycle club, which means our members are only men. We do have a sisterhood, so they kind of have their own kind of thing, but it is completely separate. Um, Traditionally speaking, MCs are just men's club, um, but our emphasis is to, although we might have our own separate things, it's to teach you to be that spiritual leader, um, and to take that home. Like these tools, like we talked about waters. Um, my wife and kids can recite that, and they know a lot about it. So the tools that we learn
carries over to the family too, right?
Teach at home.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the scriptures just coming to mind is Proverbs 27:17, right?
Mm-hmm.
As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another, and I think that's really what discipleship is all about.
Yeah.
Is you have to be willing to go and develop that relationship and mentor and talk about and lead, and sometimes it's acceptable and sometimes it's not, and you have to be willing to be humble enough to keep grinding, keep grinding. Like you said, it's a slow play. It's not a fast play.
Correct.
It's not a hard, heavy hitting thing that you're going to do. But as you look at some of the times in your ministry, let's share one quick story. Share one quick story of a kind of an aha moment for you in the ministry.
Just one. um, probably one that really stands out. It took me, honestly, let's just say with one particular group, um, it took almost 2 years just to even get a conversation with them. Like they knew I was around, they knew what I was about, but they don't just have conversations with anybody. Talking about the slow game approach, and I just stay persistent. Um, just keep showing up and just keep being real, because somebody that's fake is going to eventually just die off and go away. So it took me 2 years to have a conversation with the group, and they had an injury in part of their membership, and conversations was had, and I asked if I could pray, and then ended up talking to some of my people and was able to come up with a way to help. So through that, was able to have a conversation with the man that was injured, and was able to bless him and his family, but I got the opportunity to actually go and pray. Um, and then that led to another conversation, to uh, hospital visits, and then which led to another conversation of some of their leaders, thanking me, and it wasn't me.
Right.
I'm just doing what
God tells you to do.
Yeah. But it's that slow game approach. But it was at that moment where it's like, this is so needed, and these actually are good people that deserve that love. So our club verse is Hebrews 10:24. Let us consider ways to spur on one another towards acts of love and good deeds. And that's what that is. So no matter if that's me and you or me and whoever, I want to be an encourager. I want to spur them on towards the good stuff.
Right.
So it was little moments like that, and then getting phone calls saying, hey, this whatever has happened and has led me into this thinking, and you know what, I want to get baptized. Will you come to my house and do it in my pool? And it's like, yeah, yeah. Can we do it right now?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
So slow game approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aha moments.
Yeah. Aha moments. Yeah, because human nature, you want to see instant results.
Yeah.
And that's not how God works.
Nope.
And that's not how God works when you're discipling, because Jesus spent 3 years with his disciples and they still didn't get it. Even after the Holy Spirit came, they still didn't get it. Right. It just takes time to understand, to develop, and to get to that trust level. Well, Jay, this has been good. I'm very interested in your ministry. I love what you're doing and what the ministry stands for. If my wife ever lets me buy a motorcycle, I'll be sure to give you a call. But she still thinks that I might get out there and do something stupid. But
right on.
But here's what I want. I normally like to end in prayer, but I think what I'd rather do is I want you to look in the camera, and I want you to talk to all the future 1%ers that you're going to meet, and just give them one, I guess, won't say your spiel, right? Or your sales pitch or whatever, but let them know, because they could be anywhere, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Let them know that about your organization, and if they're struggling.
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, thank you for your time and watching this. And I just want you to know that no matter where you're at, what you're doing, what you've done, that Christ loves you. And there are people here that care for you, that are here to help support you in prayer through the good times, the bad times, no matter what, that you are loved. And if you need prayer, you can reach out to us, and we'll be there to do that. From anything from baptisms to hospital visits to anything that you may need. But it doesn't matter what you've done, where you've been. We love you, and only because Jesus loved you first.
Amen.
So, thank you.
Amen. So, His Crew family, we will put a thing up on the screen there about disciple Christians, and so you know how to reach out to them if you have that interest. If you aren't a motorcycle enthusiast, but you know somebody that is, please share this with them. Get the word out. Disciple Christians is here to help you reach those people in those organizations and to help lead them to Christ. We're all about kingdom building here at His Crew. Christians Ready, Equipped, and Willing is all about kingdom building. That's all we're interested in. And we want to make sure that the people we bring on here, that's the same like-minded that they have as well. Amen. So we thank you. We hope you come back. Like, follow, share, subscribe, and we'll be back again shortly.